Hello everyone, my name is Siobhan Dunn. I'm an OA from the class of 88, and back in February I gave a virtual talk entitled How to Lead from Any Seat in the Room. After a 25-year career working in London, most recently as chief executive of a charity called Teenage Cancer Trust, I returned home to Scotland a couple of years ago to begin my next adventure. In my experience of building and leading teams, all too often people struggle putting into practice what they've learned through traditional leadership training sessions. That's why I decided to develop more practically based sessions, ones I wish I'd had access to when I was much younger than I am now. I share examples of my own leadership journey, the highs and lows, and most importantly, what I'm constantly learning and putting into practice in order to make me a better leader. This is generally followed by a Q&A, which often people find just as helpful as the training itself. My intention is simple, that in sharing my own experience and the tools I use, something will resonate with that you might find helpful at whatever stage of life you're at. So for those of you who weren't able to come along in February, I just thought it might be helpful to briefly share the key areas I covered. Looking back, I realised that far from being rocket science, leading from any seat in the room is relatively straightforward. Anyone can do it, but I believe that there have to be 5 key building blocks in place in order to give ourselves the very best chances of being successful. Firstly, I look at the importance of building our networks. In my opinion, the single most powerful skill to help us succeed is our ability to truly connect with people. Building and maintaining strong relationships is vital to our success. We are incredibly fortunate to have such an extensive school network, and by connecting with St. Aloysius on social media, we are literally a click away from being able to reach out to thousands of OAs across the world. In order to be able to lead from any seat, it's vital that we create our own cheerleading squad, a solid peer-to-peer network. As part of that, it's important to have a mentor because success leaves clues. So there's no better way to learn than from someone that's a bit further along the journey than you are and someone that's going to be able to help support you along the way. Similarly, we can all share what we know because by being a mentor, we all grow, and it's brilliant to be able to share what you have learned and be able to help others sharing your expertise. In my session, I also look at the importance of building our stakeholder engagement. To start with, we need to map out exactly who they are. So if we're still at school, that would be teachers. If we're working, that's our boss, clients, colleagues, etc. We then need to understand our sphere of influence, so the actions that we can take that will help expand our impact, because this helps increase our leadership credentials, making it easier to lead from any seat. When we look at the second building block, building our personal power, in order to give ourselves the very best possible chances of being successful, we need to be in a peak state. That's a state of high energy, which helps create greater certainty and confidence. How often can we honestly say that we feel like that? Maybe 15-20% of the time. For most of us, it's not an automatic mindset. To make it automatic, I share a powerful tool known as the power pose. In a nutshell, we feel more powerful when we adopt expansive postures. By practicing a power pose, for example, Wonder Woman or Superman, we change our biochemistry. When we put ourselves into a position that we mentally associate with being more powerful, we actually start to feel more powerful. Putting our hands on our hips, our shoulders back, breathing fully for as little as 2 minutes, the following 3 things happen. Firstly, our testosterone levels increase by 20%, which helps us feel stronger and more determined. At the same time, our stress hormone, that's our cortisol levels, they drop by 25%, making us feel much calmer and more in control. And thirdly, our tolerance to risk increases by a staggering 35%. This makes us feel much more comfortable in challenging ourselves more, which is really important because that's often when we're going to have our greatest breakthroughs. This leads us on to the third building block, which is about how to build rapport. This is vital in order to truly connect with one another and to build stronger relationships. To successfully lead from any seat, we need to understand and really be able to build rapport and trust with those around us. For some people, this can come naturally, but for others, not so much. However, we can all develop it by practicing a technique known as matching and mirroring. When people get into rapport with one another, something really interesting happens, and they end up becoming alike in a variety of ways. To be successful at this, we need to use all of our senses to notice and connect. When we look at the 3 ways we communicate, something very interesting stands out. Only 7% of how we communicate is actually through the words we use, through our language. 38% is how we use our voice, meaning it's not about what we say, but rather it's the way that we say it, the tone of our voice, the speed, the tempo, and the volume. And arguably, most importantly, is our physiology. 55% of how we communicate is actually how we use our body. So that's everything from our gestures, facial expressions, our posture, as well, of course, as eye contact. You see, by using all our senses to connect, we create an electric magnetic energy that automatically will help us build greater rapport and trust with one another, making it much easier to lead from any seat. And what that means is making people feel completely comfortable, creating an unconscious bond without them even knowing how, is actually a skill that we can all develop. The 4th building block I explore is how to build our confidence. Here I look at imposter syndrome. Why so many of us struggle with it and how we can overcome it. Have you ever felt like you don't belong, you don't deserve to be where you are, or you're fearful of being found out? Well, if so, then like me and up to 70% of the population at one time or another, you may be suffering from imposter syndrome. The power of our beliefs is limitless. So why do the majority of us struggle with unhelpful, self-limiting ones? Well, the answer to that is really simple. The reason that happens is we get paralyzed by negativity and fear, and that's all down to the fact that we have a 2-million-year-old brain, which is designed to make us survive, not to make us happy. So it's really our job to rewire our brain. To start with, first and foremost, we need to reframe how we see imposter syndrome and the language that we use around it. To do that, I work with people so that they can better understand how to break their patterns of negative thinking. That then enables me to help them to create their own winning mindset. In taking greater control of my own imposter syndrome, using it rather than letting it use me, I began to grow as a leader. In taking more action, I got better results, which led me to feel more comfortable and confident, and also be able to cope with more of a degree of uncertainty, which is vital if we want to lead from any seat. At the same time, I realised that we can actually train ourselves to create more certainty, but to do that, we need to condition both our body and our mind. And that's why the 5th and final building block I explore is actually how to build momentum, and that's by creating our own daily healthy habits. One of the many things great leaders have in common are their daily rituals. The last year has been tough for everybody. Our general health and well-being has never been more important, but all too often that ends up being at the bottom of our priority list, when in fact, in order for us to have the energy we need to thrive and lead from any seat, it needs to be at the top. Energy is a habit shaped by our physiology, how we use our bodies, but it doesn't just happen. We need to practice it. So I decided to create my own daily healthy habit list. By challenging myself in this way, I experienced a number of breakthroughs, which I discuss in the session. I finished up by inviting everybody in the group to join me on a 10-day Healthy Habits Challenge, which I'd love to invite you all to do as well. I've shared a 1-page infographic slide on my Healthy Habits Challenge, so hopefully there will be a couple of ideas in there that might be helpful, or you can just create your own. But whatever you do to get out of your comfort zone, I promise, really challenging yourself is one of the most surefire ways to build enough momentum that will have you leading from any seat in no time at all. So that's a very quick whistle-stop tour of my session, which I hope you found helpful. If you'd like more information about the consultancy work that I do, or if you'd like to have an exploratory chemistry session to understand how I work with my coaching clients, then please do get in touch. My contact details will be included in the newsletter. That's it from me. Thank you for watching, and I hope you and your family have a very, very happy Easter. Take care. Bye for now. Bye-bye.